coming up on Piano Teaching Success TV.
The average lesson is about 30 minutes, but between lessons there are 10,050 minutes.
Hi, I'm Gillian.
Hi, I'm Paul Myatt, and welcome to episode 5 of Piano Teaching Success TV. The start of a new year, it's such a great time for a little bit of professional development, isn't it, Gillian?
It sure is, and we've been pretty busy. We've been pretty busy in January. I've been to a few workshops. I went to Sam Coates and Carly McDonald, and they did a Managing Parents workshop, which was really, really interesting. And I also went to the ANSCA workshop, which is an exam body in Australia does a whole different sorts of exams, some popular music ones, as well as some jazz ones, as well as classical syllabus. So that was really, really good. And I've been reading as well. So what about you, Paul?
Well, what was the book that you were reading?
Well, I read Kristen Yost's The Mindset of the $100,000 Piano Teacher. And I thought I was getting the I know her book, $100,000 Piano Teacher, and I just bought it online, and I didn't realize this is actually her second book, not her original book. But I'm really pleased that I actually bought this book, because mindset is so important. I think the reason why she came up with this second book is because perhaps she really realized or felt that mindset, of all of the elements that made her successful, mindset was her most important.
Funnily enough, I've actually been reading a book called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck, and it's just brilliant stuff. And I think I highly recommend it to anyone who's teaching, especially piano teachers. We spend a great deal of time with children, often years, and almost become part of the family, and we can really have an influence on a child's life.
Yes, it's sort of both for ourselves and our own mindset, but also to help kids and their attitude and their mindset around, I can't do it, and what have you. I know that you found that music with a lot of your kids has been, those really bright kids, has been a really important thing.
Absolutely. I think learning piano is one of the things that you actually have to practice to be able to do it. And for a lot of these kids, they're so talented. I've got one at the moment. He's 7 years old and has a reading age of 11 or 12, and it's just bored at school. Comes to music and I have to try it, music. So it's why it's that whole thing about being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes, and Dr. Anita Collins talks about that a lot as one of the true values of learning music. And I think I remember you recounting a story to me about a parent, similar sort of a child, who was really, really good at school and wanted to give up. And the parent went, "No, you're not giving this up, because this is the one thing you have to try. And you have to learn the learning skills for."
Exactly. And a lot of kids.
Good parent.
Good parents, exactly. And, I think that's really important for us to share that information with parents and really explain why music is so important, why piano specifically is so important. So there's some really great ideas for people to take away. So I also went to the Orff Schulwerk conference. I always like to get back to basics. And then we both went to Piano Pivot Live with Tim Topham.
Yes, and that was fabulous. We were so lucky to be a little select group, really, of about 110, 108 or something rather, teachers all together in a room and having this unique experience together and all the learnings and really positivity. Because Tim's all about positivity, isn't he? And it was good. And we did 20 interviews.
We did. And you interviewed Martha Healy from the MTNA. And I've got a snippet of that video. We might just watch it right now.
And Martha, for those people who live in the States, you know who Martha is, but for those who don't, because we were actually beaming to I don't think I counted about 60 countries that we're going live to.
Wow.
It's amazing, yeah.
Wow,
So
that's
if you don't
wonderful.
know, Martha is the president of the National Music Teachers National Association in America. So that's you have about 20,000 members. So tell us a little bit about the association for everybody who actually doesn't know about the MTNA.
MTNA was founded in 1876.
Wow.
So it's been around a long time, and it's To me, it's like a family. They're the friends that you make at MTNA are your friends for life.
And you have a national conference?
We have a national conference that's coming up in March.
Annually? You have an it's annually, and that's where you meet the friends.
Right,
these friends,
right.
yeah.
Well, it's really great because there are three components or three levels to MTNA. There's the local association, the state affiliate, and the national. So you start out knowing everyone in your local association. You go to your state conferences once a year. Then you go to your national conference once a year.
Oh, Martha is just so lovely, isn't she? And
She is.
delightful person. I can't wait to see her again because we're both going to be at MTNA in March. And you got a little bit of a scoop from Bernard Di Pasquale, from who is the CEO of AMEB Australia, which is the Australian Music Examinations Board. Let's just have a listen to that.
Well, I was just so thrilled in the audience this morning when you announced that you had given away 10 tickets, that you really supported, and that when you were looking at this event, you thought about what your support should be. And
yeah, we did think about it a lot, and I was really pleased to see those 10 people, because what we really wanted to do as a sponsor was to provide an opportunity for somebody who otherwise might not have been able to come.
Yes.
And so we put that out there. 5 of them were dedicated to regional areas and 5 to local, and I was really thrilled to see the 10 people up there this morning.
I was too. I thought that was just so nice, because
was.
professional development changes the industry, doesn't it?
Yes,
It changes the outcome. It just has a ripple effect.
It's the most important thing we do, I think, so bar anything really. So yeah, to improve teaching.
Yeah, is a fabulous thing, because it pays it all forward, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we've got a little sneaky kind of
We do. Speaking
announcement.
of giving books away, so we've been talking internally a little bit about what we can do about the horrific bushfires that have been going on, and it's just a small gesture from us, but we'll be doing some formal messaging next week just to say that anybody who's lost their AMEB library as part of the bushfires will replace that for them. So
that's very generous of her. That's lovely.
But
Really
it can be quite devastating for a teacher to lose a library of books.
Absolutely.
And quite hard to replace, and that's a small thing we can do.
I just think it's so wonderful that the AMEB in Australia are supporting regional teachers and anyone who's lost their exam books in this dreadful bushfire. So thank you so much to the AMEB in Australia.
At Piano Pivot Live, there was a lot of sessions around improvisation. And it's certainly a topic that's very much, we find a lot of teachers are requesting of us, I want to know more about improvising. And certainly the teachers at Piano Pivot Live just lapped up the sessions that were happening on improvisation. And so we've got our own little session on improvisation, and it's based on the multi-Grammy award winning, this is really topical at the moment, Billie Eilish. So would you like to tell us about that?
Sure. And this is a really simple way of exploring some improvisation, perfect for children who might be in their teens, so they might have been learning a little while, but also you could do this with complete beginners by, as the teacher, playing the left hand and the student playing the right hand. So I'm just going to share this video with
this new American singer-songwriter, who's only 17 years old, Billie Eilish. She's got some really lovely songs. I was listening to one called Lovely. It's in E minor, and it's really simple. And it would be a great opportunity for your students to start playing by ear. 3 chords, E minor, B minor, and C major 7th. But what if your students tried improvising in the style? So the other thing about it is it's nearly all pentatonic. So we're using... So you could play this accompaniment. there's a few ideas to maybe make some more fun for your students. Because if we actually give them some fun things that they actually know, they're going to learn for longer and play for longer. And that's my goal, get my students playing and learning for longer.
Almost any self-respecting 15-year-old would like to be sort of doing that in their more plaintive moments.
Yes, exactly. It can be simplified as well. So in the little download that we've done, you could just play. So you could just do quarter notes or crotchets instead of the quavers or eighths to make it a little bit easier.
That's right. And as you said in the early on, that if for younger ones, they're absolutely capable of doing the right hand, but you might actually, even though it's not hard, I was just trying it out beforehand, and it's simple, but it's not easy. So to keep that going, that's why the crotchets, and even maybe start with the quarter notes, crotchets, and then maybe gradually build up to the other. Or you can get them to play that left hand while you improvise over the top, so they get to get the feeling of the sort of thing to play. Tons of ideas around that.
Very, very simple and lots of fun to be had. And I always say to teachers a quote from Bradley Sowash: "You're only one note away from a good note."
Well, that's true, but I was playing that and I couldn't actually make it sound bad.
Well, his other quote is, "When in doubt, pent out," and this is all pentatonic, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, no matter what I played, it sounded good, which is like awesome. Oh dear. So the other thing that we have for everyone today is our fantastic interview you did with the Curious Piano Teachers. And so for those people who don't know who the Curious Piano Teachers are, would you like to explain?
Yes, it's two ladies, Sally Cathcart and Sharon Mark-Taggart from the UK and Ireland. And they have a group of piano teachers from all over the world. And they are doing lots of professional development with piano teachers. And they have shared with them, with us, one of their curiosity boxes. I was lucky enough to be one of their curiosity boxes last year, doing a curiosity box on how to use whole body learning strategies using ABRSM exams. So they were sharing with us 5 strategies from 18 strategies for getting kids to practice.
And I really love some of the things they said. When they kicked off, I think they said, we see them all generally. We see students for about 30 minutes a week, but there's 10,050 minutes in between lessons. Whoa, obviously they're good at multiplication, those two.
Exactly.
And the other thing I quite liked, they did talk a lot about making children or our students kind of responsible for their own learning. The techniques around that and getting them to step in rather than us constantly feeding every single thing to them, so that they're actually having to articulate how they're going to practice them and that kind of thing. And I think I really like this. Teaching is not telling. And the average, this is a really interesting statistic, the average wait time from when we ask a question to when we next talk is 0.9 of a second.
I know, it's scary, isn't it?
It is. So we do find ourselves like, oh, not liking that pause. We want to fill the space.
One of the other things that they say is making sure that you videotape and watch yourself teaching, which is always very scary.
It is scary, but boy, can you learn a lot from it. And
it certainly can.
We've been, our Forte teachers have been videoing themselves for years. You know, and they all say how much it's changes their teaching and how much they learn just by looking at them. I think way back there was excellent. Everyone said excellent. excellent. And they're going to say, I didn't realize how many times I said excellent. Yeah, so it can be revealing, but it's really good revealing. This is part of a 33-minute video. Please go and watch all of it. But in this episode, we're just going to share the first.
So I have known of the Curious Piano Teachers for quite a while. Tell me about the Curious Piano Teachers.
Okay, so we, Sharon and I sort of dreamt up and founded the Curious Piano Teachers about 5 years ago. We're coming up to 5 years in May. And we're all about helping to provide piano teachers all over the world with resources and the opportunity to develop their teaching and their playing skills and to fill in any gaps, because I don't know about anybody else, but I find I still have lots of gaps in my own knowledge. And one of the things that we love to do at the Curious Piano Teachers is to learn from each other. So there's a big opportunity to share and to exchange really all the things we know. And so the Curious Piano Teachers were about connection, connecting piano teachers across the world, giving them a really supportive space to chat, which they do daily in many, many ways. We're about giving teachers confidence. So the confidence to move away from maybe the 3 pieces a year model towards something that is slightly more creative, using a teaching framework and a piano framework that we've got that's quite unique, and also about educating teachers. So at the heart of that, we have these things called curiosity boxes. And Paul has been part of one of our curiosity boxes recently, and a curiosity box, one comes out every single month, and it's packed full of videos, how-to videos, ready-to-use teaching resources, worksheets, podcasts, all sorts of things, each one on a different topic. Have I missed anything out, Sharon?
I think that's pretty comprehensive. But yeah, it's super exciting doing what we do and helping and supporting teachers right around the world.
Fantastic. You told me that you were going to share 5 practice strategies from one of your curiosity boxes, which was actually 18 practice strategies?
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
We have a curiosity box that looks at strategies to help the practice happen between lessons, because of course the average lesson is about 30 minutes, but between lessons there are 10,050 minutes. So it's not just what happens in the lesson, it's what happens between the lessons, and it is our responsibility as teachers to ensure that students are fully aware of and feeling able when they go home that they know what they need to do and that they need to do it independently. So yeah, it's been a very popular box.
In fact, it's our second practice box, isn't it?
It is.
We've got 2 of them. And I think the thing about practice to remember is that there isn't just one thing that you say to a pupil and that's it, you fixed practice. You know, practice is ongoing, and we all need new ideas coming into our teaching that we can pass on to students, because what might work for 3 weeks then won't work in the 4th week. So you have to change your strategy. And as one of our teachers said recently, you have to have about 20 strategies, don't you, for anything you're teaching at all, up your sleeves. So we just wanted to share 5 with people. Actually, we won't go on and on and on, but we will share 5. So the first one, shall I kick off with the first one? And that is to create a practice toolkit. Now, this is something that I've done for my students, especially at holiday time, and I've given them this little practice toolkit in a little box. I was looking for one earlier, but I couldn't find the actual box around anywhere. But in that toolkit, you might put things like a feather, stickers and stars, a pencil, a rubber, and some practice buddies, and possibly an egg timer or something like that. So you might be saying, well, why the egg timer? Well, the egg timer is quite easy, isn't it? That you, let's say you have a minute egg timer, and you explain to the student, they already know this idea of what I call goldfish practice, is that isolating a tiny little bit, and you're going to play that bit over and over again till the egg timers run out. Yeah, so that's one thought that they can do. The feather, I have got a feather here, and I would get the student just to remind them, that's not a very good Let's put it up here. Whee, there we go. Did you see it? Just to remember to be very light in the way that they sit and in the way that they play with their arms, because practice can cause an awful amount of heaviness, don't you find? And it can really lead to tension. So the feather is just to remind them, throw it in the air and then make your arms as light as a feather. The stickers and the stars, well, they can, you know, give themselves a sticker. When you've played it, the magic number 3, I'll talk about that in a minute, you can give yourself a little sticker. That's a bit of a girly one, that is, I'm afraid. A rubber and a pencil. Well, I want them to take ownership of their music. It's not for me to write on it, it's up to them to write on it. And this understanding that as a musician, you use a pencil and you have a rubber on the end, and that's an important, to me, that's an important sign of being a musician, using a pencil and taking ownership of that music. And the last idea is practice buddies. And the practice buddies are little toys or little rubbers or something that they've got at home that will help them with their practice. So I just mentioned Goldfish Practice, and I know we're going to refer to this again later on, but it's this idea of isolating bit and then playing it, what I call the magic number 3. So they have to play it in the same way 3 times. And I was doing this last night with a new student that I got. He's a transfer student, and this was his 3rd lesson. And you know, it's that funny time where you're only just really getting to know them and still trying to sort them out. And last night when I introduced the magic number 3 and the practice buddies in the form of my ducks, he just came to life for the first time in the lesson. So I have a whole range of plastic ducks, and they get to choose which one. This is Beethoven duck, who of course then matches my Beethoven picture there. We had Mozart duck, he chose as well, and he loved the fact that they were squeaky. And this is Super Sally duck. Can you see a resemblance? One of my pupils bought this for me, saying, oh, this is just like you, Sally. Okay. And Mozart's making a bid for escape. There we go. So the idea with the practice buddies is that they choose them. We use my ducks in the lesson. They have to play a passage 3 times with the right rhythm, the right notes, the right fingering. It's got to be consistent. When they manage to do it, there's Beethoven off for a go now. If they get it right, then Beethoven duck will make his way from one side of the piano to the other, and then they play it again. But if they make a mistake, the duck can't do the movement. And it's really, really very engaging for them, and they will practice 3 times without even turning a hair. And they are really, really good at knowing when they are not allowed to move the duck. They'll look at you and go, You go, what do you think? Did it have the right rhythm? No. So we do all that in the lesson so that they can then go home and do it at home. And we know that they do this sort of thing at home. Anyhow, enough of my enthusiasm on that one.
Well, it's always really great to have use the skills in a lesson so that they take it to home. So they shouldn't be doing anything at home that is new. They should be just practicing what they've already done.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to move on and talk about the second practice strategy, which is talking aloud. And it's the importance of, in lessons where students are, that we're not just the ones who are counting aloud for them or saying aloud the finger numbers, but actually getting our students to do the same thing as well. And actually, I get my students to do it. Even with scales, I've got lots of different strategies that they can use for scales. And one of them is actually, even before they go to the piano, actually getting them to say aloud the letter names in a very rhythmical way. You know, so for example, it's a D major scale. So without looking at the keys, they can close their eyes or they can look away, but that they're actually able to say D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, and then come back down again. And because sometimes I find that they need to kind of kinesthetically, they need to feel what's happening. So getting them to do that, getting them to count aloud. For years in lessons, I did all the hard work. I did all the counting for them. And then you wonder why they come back the following week and they've got the rhythm wrong for the 3rd week in a row. But it's the importance of actually getting them in the lesson to take responsibility and just to figure out, do they know what to say? do they know what to count here?
Mm.
So getting them to talk aloud, finger numbers is another thing they can say aloud. And actually getting our students, giving them the opportunity to be that little bit more verbal in lessons. It's really interesting when we watch ourselves back, you know, video record a lesson. And I really would encourage teachers to do this. It's super scary, I know. And we know that when we have, we run diploma courses for teachers, and this is a big part of what we ask them to do. And they are terrified of it, and it is a scary thing. Sally and I guess we have got used to that. Well, we do remember the kind of the fear. It's not even just the fear of having a camera there; it's actually watching it back. That's the really heightened, scary experience, where you kind of all is laid bare and you get to see it. But the one thing that I remember when I was starting to watch my own lessons was just the amount that I talked, and the fact that students barely said anything. So it's actually getting them to contribute a lot more. So yeah, so that's practice strategy number 2, getting our students to actually talk a lot.
I really like the talking, because that can sometimes then turn into singing as well, which is really important, obviously, for oral development. And
Absolutely.
the other thing is that by actually verbalizing, the student verbalizing, they're actually making more connections in their brain. So it's helping
They
them.
absolutely are.
Yeah.
They absolutely are. It's so much more conscious.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's helping them with that cognitive stage, you know, those 3 stages of learning. So often that, you know, we go from cognitive to associative to autonomous, and so often the cognitive, which absolutely involves speaking aloud, it gets missed out. Absolutely gets missed out. So it's crucial. And again, my young student that I had last night, you know, the new one, I got him to count aloud. And he was giggling away because he couldn't do it for the life of me. I mean, he's got quite good reading skills, but he's clearly never counted aloud in his life before. So that was all a lot of fun. Let's move on to the 3rd one, which is about finding, we've called it time to play. Because sometimes with students, if they are struggling to find the time to play when they're at home, you have to negotiate with them and sit down and spend some time discussing their week, getting them to tell you about when's going to be good to do some practice this week, how many minutes you're going to do, and when precisely are you going to do that. Depending on the age of the child can depend on whether you have the parents involved or not. Obviously, the younger children definitely going to need the parents there because they're an important part of this practice triangle. Teenagers, probably a little bit more able to just talk to them directly and then kind of bring in the parent towards the end. But, you know, just saying to a student, now you're going to get them practice that this week. You know what the student will do? They'll go, yes.
Of course.
and then, you know, they'll go away and it will all go back to as it was before. So actually saying, okay, so let's see, how many practices are you going to get in this week? First of all, negotiate that. So what about Monday? And then they'll go through in their head and they'll go, well, I've got, you know, I've got tennis after school, and then I've got swimming. So, okay, not Monday. Okay, what about Tuesday? I've got choir. And after choir? Yes, I could practice after choir. And what about Wednesday? And of course, you then sort of say, well, what time are you going to do it? And you actually pin it down and you write these times down. It really helps to focus time. I mean, it's just like goal setting for any of us. I don't know about you, but if I write down the time I'm going to do something, there's a very good chance I will do it. Whereas if I just leave it floating around, then I probably won't do it. So helping the student pin down the actual times that they're going to be playing. And again, it's about getting them involved in the lesson. This is their learning. This is their piano playing. And we want them to take ownership of that, and getting them to think about the times they can do their practice is another part of that whole equation.
They are such fun, aren't they? They have got some fantastic ideas. I love those little duckies. Oh my goodness. I actually just Googled them before to find out whether they're real or whether they actually dress them up, but they're real. You can buy them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Who would have thought a Mozart duck and a duck?
There we go. Well, you know that you can watch the whole interview at pianoteachingsuccess.com/episode 5. And you can also download notes for the Billie Eilish improvisation and links and to the books that we found and we're sharing earlier in the show. And that's all for us this month. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon.
Bye.